In today's video, I want to talk about a few big discoveries that I made when I decided to lean more into the private equity space with RP Capital LLC. This is our investment company. For years, we've been investors. We've consulted investors. We've managed properties. My wife and I and our team, we've done a lot in the real estate space. But just recently, we decided to really venture into the private equity space to not only live out the biblical principles of group economics, but to maximize the opportunities that we see in the next 3 to 5 years, particularly here in the metro Atlanta area. Now, with that being said, there are a few discoveries that I did make, and I don't want to make this a white or black issue. However, some may say it is a white and black issue. And of course, the white and black issue is always tied to the green issue, because whoever controls the money kind of controls some of the narratives with the white and black issues. Let's keep it a buck. But one of the discoveries I made was this. There's about 70 to 80 trillion dollars projected to be controlled and managed by the larger private equity groups, the big institutions, the hedge funds, the Wall Street type tycoon firms and companies and institutions that exist. So it is projected to be somewhere between 70 to 80 trillion dollars of capital being held. It is being controlled. It is being managed by these firms. We're talking about the Vanguards. We're talking about the Blackstones, the BlackRocks, the KKRs. These are some of the largest fund managers on the absolute entire planet. All you got to do is just Google Blackstone, BlackRock, KKR, Vanguard. Now, what's a big discovery to me is, number one, the dollar amount that these firms and these fund managers and institutions hold. It is projected to be somewhere between 70 to 80 trillion. That's why I put here trillions of dollars. We're not talking about millions. We ain't talking about billions. We're talking about 70 to 80 trillion dollars that these firms and fund management companies and institutions are holding. Now, why is that such a big discovery? Well, when you dig deeper, here's what you find out. Less than 2%, let's just say there's about 80 trillion. Less than 2% of that projected 80 trillion is being managed or controlled and held by black-owned or minority-owned firms. So even though I'm not Don Peebles with the Peebles Corporation, who's actually a black guy, I'm not Robert Smith, who's actually a black guy of Vista Equity Partners, but I am a black man who live in the United States of America. I'm considered a preacherpreneur. I've served predominantly the black community as a preacherpreneur, that is a preacher, a congregational leader, and an entrepreneur for almost 25 years. So I know a thing or two about our people and about our community. So even though RP Capital LLC ain't up there with the People's Corporation or with Vista Equity Partners yet, however, when you look at this total number of the trillions of dollars that are being held, that are being managed and controlled by these firms, less than 2% of these firms are black-owned or minority-owned. So that's one big discovery. Here's the next big discovery. A lot of the trillions of dollars that these firms and these hedge funds and these institutions have access to, it is coming from the custodians of retirement accounts, pension plans, or banking institutions that are getting access to your money from your jobs, employer-sponsored 401k, from your jobs, pension plan, or maybe from some other investment vehicle that you put your money in, hoping and wishing and praying that at some point in the future, you will be able to retire and live the same quality of life in your after work years. That's very problematic for me because, for one, it's a disparity. It's a disparity to black people to minorities. It's a disparity to you because it ain't like these firms that we're talking about are so adamant and so passionate about figuring out creative ways to redeploy that capital and redirect that capital back into your community, for your small local business, for your mom and pop shops, for your affordable housing. It ain't happening. You know it ain't happening. So I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I wanted to share this discovery because as a private equity firm manager myself, it is my spiritual, it is my social, economic, and I guess I can say it is my fiduciary responsibility to heighten your awareness, especially if you're a black man or woman, definitely if you're a black man or woman of faith, and you're looking to find and align yourself with people who have you and your community's best interests at heart. Well, you need to start holding these custodians accountable. One of the ways you can hold these custodians accountable is by looking for ways to take back control of the narrative of your finances and your future, and not depend it on people who are directing it and deploying it to people, places, and things that don't even align with your values and views. Now, are all of them evil? Do all of them have negative motives and agendas? I don't know. But what I do know is this. Every day I wake up as a preacherpreneur, especially as a pastor and a leader of a congregation, I talk, I counsel, I consult, and I work with people who have been working in the workforce and who still go out there every day to bust their behind to try to figure out how they can get ahead. And unfortunately, all of their money is being controlled and tied up for 20, 30, 40, 50 years without them seeing any net results in their lives today. And many of them get to their after-work years or their retirement years only to realize they ain't got enough to stop working. We need to change that narrative. So it starts by you and I holding our custodians, holding our bankers, holding the people who are deploying our capital to these institutions, hold them accountable. Now, you can huff and puff and you can picket and protest, but until you start educating yourself on alternative ways that you can be in more control. I have clients who self-direct their IRAs, deploy them into investments that they can control, that they can be a part of, and that they can see grow so that they know what's happening with their money, and they see the impact that it's making, not just in their families, but in their local communities. That's what we're about. We're about local investing that makes an impact in the lives of the people in our community. Because guess what? If we're not doing what we're supposed to do to make the impact in our community, we cannot blame these firms and institutions for doing what they doing. They gonna do them, we gonna do us. But if we gonna do us, we gotta work together. We gotta understand that there's a lot of education and knowledge available for us to get what we need to get so that we can take our families to the next level. If there's anything my team and I can do to help you, to give you more information and access to resources on what you can do to take back control of the narrative of your finances today and of your future, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Click the link in the description. My team and I, we're always available because we want to serve our people, our community, so that we can establish generational legacies of wealth for ourselves. We know what everybody else is doing, but we have to do it for ourselves.